Thank you very much, everyone. Okay. It's very good to see all of you this morning. I apologize that on Wednesday we had a little bit of camera issue, so I hope it's resolved. I've been attempting to fix it, so let's take a moment, center ourselves. Let's take a stretch. To our neck gently. Right. Okay, to the left, using your body naturally moving. Opposite way. Good. Take a moment. Do a scan of our bodies, our mind, our breathing, our body, mindfully without any judgment. We are simply aiding and observing. Okay, at this time, let us prepare for meditation. We'll do our 3 purifying breaths, breathing in, holding, and exhaling. So follow me. 1, hold, exhale. Inhale, hold, exhale. Inhale, last round. Hold, exhale. Good. Now we'll begin. Close your eyes. Put your head in front of the put your hands in Hokkaijoin, ears over your shoulders, chin tucked in, eyes gently closed, mouth gently closed, tongue to the roof of your mouth behind your upper teeth. And we're going to begin breathing in and exhaling through our nose. Since we are a mantra-based school, we use our mantra, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, the title of the Lotus Sutra, in order to stop our thoughts as we exhale. And then as we inhale, we simply observe, okay, the air coming in our nose, touching our nose, etc. At the sound of the bell, let us enter in Dhyana meditation. Release your attention, come back to your body. Take a moment to mindfully observe your mind, breathing, body. Notice the subtle changing without judgment. Is it aware? Is it stiff? Smoother? Now let us do one more purifying breath. Breathe in, hold, exhale. Start to move your fingers, your toes, your body. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let us continue on with our studies concerning the 5 hindrances, as we have been discussing in the previous session. Now we will speak about laziness and lethargy. Laziness for most people appears as procrastination. Of course, its counterpart, lethargy, is a tendency towards inactivity, um, kind of unrestful rest, and ultimately sleep. Both involve a lack of energy. So lethargy is main, how do you say, feeling is lack of energy, lack of effort, lack of direction. Both of these cause different problems, but together they form powerful obstruction to our practice. When we lack motivation, laziness and lethargy arise and keep us from doing what we need to do, making the proper effort. Very important aspect that we look at is that is why we have the regulations in our practice. The first 2 regulations being that of sleep and that of eating and drinking. If we do not properly understand and regulate these aspects, physically and mentally, lethargy and laziness will appear. Many times it's a physiological reaction to one not having enough sleep, one overexhausting themselves without relaxation, proper relaxation. Also, what one eats, one mind becomes tired, scattered. Laziness is being resistant to uh, something particular that we wish to do. Laziness is usually thought as something negative, but it absolutely serves a purpose for us. Keeps us from spending our time and energy doing unnecessary things, unproductive and unpleasant activities, which naturally we are, how do you say, resistant to. Because in our life, we look for uh, pleasantness, right? This natural state, as we say, even though most people get caught up in the pleasantries of attachment and material objects or short-term happiness. We as Buddhists look for the deeper meaning, as we see in the Four Noble Truths, as those things that are long-lasting and substantial, that bring lasting and substantial contentment and happiness. The time and energy that can be used for activities and contribute to our happiness, survival, and reproductive success. Laziness, and of course, that removes and makes us avoidant of those things. Laziness also motivates us to use our skills and intelligence to come up with easier ways of doing things, the path of least resistance. Laziness arises when the cost of an activity seems to outweigh its benefits. Hence, the reason why I've said many times, by doing consistent practice, right, and also with the mindfulness aspect of our practice, we can compare and contrast, which is what our mind does. We can see the pleasant effects of meditation, of dhyana, right? We can see when we attribute and understand the power of the daimoku in our survival, right? In our happiness, in our contentment, in our freedom from suffering, right? Our body naturally then changes its mind and says, this isn't so bad, this is good. But a lot of times how practice is given to people, it's made to be very unpleasant. If when we give practice to people and also to ourselves and it is unpleasant, that is when the mind then fights with itself and says, in this idea of laziness, this is something to be avoided. So even though we know or we heard of the positive effects of such practice, unless we experience that joyful aspect of our study and practice, or chanting the daimoku or dhyana, right, we will be in avoidance of that. And that is where lethargy and laziness arise. So it's a very important aspect that we take the time to use our mindfulness after we've chanted, after we've practiced, and to be able to compare and contrast that, yes, before these other things, they don't give me the same peace of mind, the same tranquility, right? The same outlook that I get when I practice the dhyana. Then the mind will naturally say, dhyana is good. And then practice and study will be easy, and then one is able to avoid these aspects. Lethargy arises when there appears to be nothing interesting, exciting, or potentially rewarding going on. Again, avoidance, the same as laziness. It also serves a purpose. Our body and mind need time to rest and recuperate. That's why when we look at these hindrances, we shouldn't use the concept of negative and good, right? All these hindrances are negative, and that the medicine, the contrary aspect, the healing aspect is good. Now, those aspects, as we see even in the 10 worlds of the states of mind, have a particular purpose in our success, such as our instinct, right? So therefore, that's why laziness and lethargy have a purpose. Again, even the idea of lethargy allowing us to recuperate ourselves, because a lot of times we overindulge, we overstrive. That can even be in practice and study, which then makes practice and study unpleasant. And then our mind naturally says, oh, something is not right. This is contrary to what you have told me, that this practice is good. So therefore, that is why the joyfulness of practice, and this happens with the mindfulness of taking a moment and comparing and contrasting what practice was before and what practice was after. That's very essential. When we can see that, we will be able to understand and feel the importance and benefit of our practice and study. Just a moment. I apologize for the camera. There we are. I apologize for that. So there are two antidotes for laziness and lethargy. The first is motivate ourselves by thinking of future rewards. That is why I stated that, there is a reward to be got. The Buddha tells us this. This means that we weigh the costs, the time, because time is very important. That's why most people say they don't have time to practice and study. But in fact, they have time to do many things. A practice and study does not seem to be one of them. So one idea is that whenever you have trouble meditating, you can recall the benefits. And again, that is why I stated we do mindfulness. Because immediately after we finish, we see the benefit on our mind, our breathing, our body. We recognize that. And again, we compare and contrast. We see the days and moments that when we realize this, we say, the days that I practice and study, I'm more mindful and less distracted and bothered by issues going on. That perhaps has become very evident to yourself, I hope. And that when we go to the temple, when we participate and direct ourselves towards our practice, we become relieved of our suffering. And a different state of mind reveals itself. That in my own practice, I have realized is the only way to overcome both laziness and lethargy. And that can only be done in your own practice and study. It cannot be done through hearing about somebody else's benefits or reading a book or observing and wishing you somebody else's practice, how nice and good it is. That's why it's essential that you have your own practice where you sit, study, and become mindful of the benefits and joys of Dhyana. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us again. Thank you. I apologize for Wednesday. The camera was not working, computer too. So if that happens, please make sure that you meditate. That is why I don't fool with it so long. I just continue my meditation so that it begins on time. So I'm still meditating with all of you. Okay? And also in the next 2 weeks, we have a Ohigan seminar that I hope all of you will join. There will be an option for you to join online through Patreon. So if you haven't joined that, please do to support our practice and study so that I can offer more opportunity for people. Thank you very much, and may you have a joyful, enlightened day. Namyo Myoho Renge Kyo.